Hello friends, it's Lisa and today I am back with another flip page. This is for week 4 of the Get Organized Challenge and it's another Saturday at Starbucks. So instead of doing brown like I did the first week, I'm doing green. And I picked the green Starbucksy colors. You can see there that these are the colors I chose. These are the color swatches and I've added a little bit of gold. So the plan was to use this stamp from the Simon Says Stamp Deco Borders and Corners stamp set and create an ombre. So you'll see that in just a minute. To do that, I'm using some of this StazOn ink and a little piece of acetate. You can kind of see it there. So I put my stamp on my stamp positioner, and this is the We Are Memory Keepers one, which I think is called a precision press. So I have it set up on my precision press and I have it near the bottom so that I can stamp on the bottom of this flip page. Without moving the stamp, I can just move the paper. So you'll see that as I go. Now I'm going to start out, and I wanted these to be embossed, and I wanted the embossing to be a gradient with the dark green on the bottom and the light green on the top. I honestly don't think I have any green embossing powder, so what you can do for that is use the color ink pad. I'm sorry, excuse me. Use the color ink pad that you want and then use clear embossing powder over. So that's what I've decided to do. Here I'm taking out a little bit just to kind of see if it's going to look any good, and I liked it. So I'm going to stamp with the darkest color first, which is the Forest Moss Distress ink. Here is the clear embossing powder I'm going to use, which is Ranger, and I'm going to use a heat embossing bag, which I forget what it has in there, maybe cornstarch, but you rub it over, see, like I'm doing right there, and it keeps the powder of the embossing powder from sticking anywhere except for where it's been stamped. If you're having trouble and your stamp pad, I guess I'm stamping light to dark, so light at the bottom. If your stamp pad doesn't hold the embossing powder, that's okay. You can still do this. All you have to do is stamp it with the color that you want and then stamp it with some clear watermark ink pad like Versamark. So it might make your color just a hair darker, but it shouldn't be a problem. I really liked this stamp set. I'm super excited to use it on a lot of different things. Art Deco and Art Nouveau are some of my favorite design styles, so I try and get anything that has that because I use it a lot. So I was excited to try it. This is my first time using it. It's a brand new stamp set. So Simon Says Stamp does the Stamptember, and I'm not sure if this is a Stamptember only product or not, but I did not want to miss this one. So it's really cute. So if you're looking for that kind of style stamp set, this is a good one to get. Which I don't say a lot. Usually I would say use what you have, but I do really like this stamp set. So I heat embossed that off screen just by pouring the powder on, heating it up with my heat tool until it melted. Then it becomes glossy. So if you've never done that, it just becomes glossy and then you know to stop. Now I lined up where the stamp is, and here's where I had an issue. This fern green ink stamps a whole lot darker than when you swipe it across the page. So my ombre effect wasn't going to happen. At this point, I realized that. I do want to go back and try this again. I don't know if I do the same colors or not, just because I've already done green. But I want to try doing a reverse ombre. So my plan was to have the ombre in the stamps, so to have the background build up in different ombres, so light, medium, dark, and then to use the same colors except for in reverse order to kind of blend on the background. So I'll have to try it again and see. I'm sure I can get it to work. It just, this ink pad stamped a lot darker, which is why if you're making swatches, you may want to stamp an image if you use the ink a lot to stamp, which, to be honest, that's really the only thing I use the archival ink for, is stamping. So, next, on the side you'll see I'm making a little swatch tag because I liked the color combination. I want to make sure I keep that. Then I'm going to line it up again, and you can see you have to look on how the layer below stamps together. And then you want to do the same, get the same pattern, match it up. So on this pattern, the circle actually goes in to the circle above and below it. Just a little bit, just a hair, so you have to line that up correctly for it to look continuous. But that's what I really like about these stamp positioners, is that you can do that if you do have a slight issue like I get, where you don't stamp perfectly. It's okay. You just put it back down, press harder, or pick it up, put some more ink on there, and press. So, the ink I've used so far, on the bottom was Shabby Shutters Distress Ink. Then it was Fern Green Archival Ink. The one we just did was Grasshopper Spectrum Noir Harmony ink pad, and then this one is the Forest Moss Distress Ink. Just to remind you, I am heat embossing between each layer. If I was to just put the clear embossing powder on top and not heat set it, I would have some issues. So that's just something to note. Very last one we're going to do, and really this is very quick and easy. I think in the future I want to, when I do something like this, is to stamp multiples. And I could do it in a 6x6 format, where then I could make a card or something like that, have extra. So this is the Forest Moss Spectrum Noir Sparkle Marker. You can't really stamp with it very well, so I didn't include it in the ombre, but I decided to use it in the background kind of watercolor that I wanted to do. I'm also going to use the Pearl Gold color from my Finetec watercolor set, and it is on the bottom row, the second one in from the left. It is definitely my favorite of their colors. It is so pretty. I would love to get some more of these watercolors. The colors that I have are awesome, but it seems like something you could get even more fun colors and it just really enhance what you have. But the issue is that I really don't need any more colors. You'll see soon. I have a lot of colors, so I really don't need them. That's something that Tiffany says, is that when you get organized, you're more thoughtful about your purchases, and for sure that's true. I've definitely, just since I've started, been a lot more cognizant of what I'm buying. If I have something like that already, I don't get it. As well as if I get something, I have to really want it, because adding it to my organization system is a little bit painful. It's totally worth it. Not painful in the fact that it's like super hard. It just takes effort, so I'm not going to add a bunch of stuff that I'm never going to use, because that's way too much effort. Anyway, So I guess I did skip over something in case you're new and haven't seen this before. This is the background piece. The foreground piece I designed and cut out with my Cricut. So I designed it on the computer using the Cricut design software, and then I cut it out with my Cricut Maker. And I cut that piece out of Neenah Solar White 80-pound cardstock that had been put through the 9-inch Xyron adhesive maker. And then this part that I'm using right now is Cricut Craft cardstock, I guess. It's very thick paper. So if you want to see the design part of this, you can go back to the very first one in the series, which I'll have linked at the end to see that. And it's just at the very beginning. On that one, I do a similar technique. It's just not, it doesn't have heat embossing, and it's more smushing on the background. But the foreground, I leave exactly the same, just plain white. I've gone mostly with very graphic designs for these, and I think it turned out really well. The one that I didn't was yesterday's, and it didn't turn out as well, and I think that's because I didn't go graphic. So here I'm taking this tiny little stamp block, acrylic block, and have put some of the gold on it. Then I'm using that to flick the gold paint onto the background piece. This will give me some drops of gold, and it just adds to the overall effect. Next, I'm going to weed out all of the pieces that I don't want in. So if you remember from the design on Sunday, I think it was Sunday that I posted this, but you can go back and see. I used a stencil font here to cut out this Saturday at Starbucks. That means that all the insides to the letters don't actually cut all the way out. So you can still completely read what it says, but it doesn't cut those insides out, and so I don't have to worry about sticking them back on. It did get a little messy at that S at the very end, but I decided not to scrap this piece and just continue on, and I cut a little star out and just painted it with the gold, the pearl gold Finetec watercolor as well, so that it'd match the back, but it would hide my mistake. So when you see it, you don't automatically go, oh, she's hiding a mistake. Anyway, so I've lined this up by putting the top onto my mat, lining up the top on the front piece, and then sticking it carefully together. I'm going to also just peel off the backing from the star, and that's it. That is very simple. I love having the bulk of the work done by a computer and a machine, and then I get to just play around with the background. And then when I'm done with that, it's super simple to just put everything together. So that's been a really fun part of this project. Thanks so much for joining me. Tomorrow I have another really cool flip page, so come back and join me. Have a great day. Thanks, guys.